Owls are nocturnal animals, but this one doesn't seem to care. In this week's video, I'm showing you how to make this felt owl that you can make for any season of the year just by changing the colors to match with. You can use this as an ornament or make a few more to hang into a garland. Now let's see all the materials and tools. You will need the PDF pattern and you'll find the link in the description. Felt fabric in color of your choice, matching embroidery threads, some fiber fill, pair of scissors, a fabric marking pen and some pins and a hand needle for sewing. Let's start with cutting out the pattern pieces, and as I always mention in my videos, keep your fabric cutting scissors separate from the paper cutting ones. You'll find a total of 7 pattern pieces in this pattern, and it's available on my shop website and on the Etsy shop as well. After you have carefully cut out all the pieces, use those to cut the required number of felt pieces. I'm not going to show you how to cut each piece one by one, but I'll show you how to cut felt pieces in general. As mentioned in the tutorial, select the pattern pieces for each style and start to cut felt fabric using those patterns. You can pin and place the larger pattern pieces to the fabric and then carefully cut around it. The required number from each piece is mentioned on or near each pattern piece. Finally, remove the pins. When it comes to smaller or irregular pattern pieces, you can place and hold it onto the fabric while outlining it using a fabric marker. Then carefully cut around the drawn pattern, including those fabric markings, so it won't be visible afterwards. You can also just hold the pattern onto the fabric and then carefully cut around it. Choose any of the methods more comfortable for you. Assuming you have all the felt pieces ready, let's start sewing. Take one of the body pieces and place one of the outer wings on top of that, leaving a small margin of space on the side. Use a pin to hold it in place. Thread your needle and make a knot at the end. Now, coming from the back of the fabric, start to sew the outer wing to the body using the back stitch. Start at any point and go all the way around till you reach the starting point. If you don't know how to do the back stitch, make sure you check out the tutorial on the back stitch before this one. I'll leave the link in the description. I'm only using 2 embroidery threads throughout this project, and it's totally up to you. You can remove the pin once the piece is stable. You can move to sew the second outer wing whenever you are done with the first one. It's the same steps. Place the wing directly opposite to the first one and leave a little bit of margin at the side. I do this just to mix the colors and to make it easier to sew everything together at the end. Keep your stitch lengths shorter so you can maintain the shape, especially in those curvy areas. At this point, both outer wings are attached, and end your stitch by making a couple of knots at the back. Use any of the threads at the back to make knots. You only have to do this whenever you are changing the color of the thread or running out of the thread. Finally, trim the thread. Next, we are moving to sew the two inner wings, one wing at a time. Place the inner wing on top of the outer wing and start to sew using the back stitch. Please refer to the final look of the owl to see the position of the wings. Start at any point and go all the way around till you reach the starting point. If you would like, you can also use the whip stitch in here too. I have selected more pastel colors for this project since we are heading for the spring, but you can always change it to more realistic felt colors to give it a natural look. Learning the back stitch, whip stitch and the blanket stitch will be more than enough to complete almost all these felt projects. From there, you can improve yourself to learn more if you would like. Once you complete one of the inner wings, move to sew the other one. You could use a pin to hold the piece in place, but since this is a smaller piece, I'm gonna hold and sew. It is much easier that way. Again, it's the back stitch to go all the way around. Making shorter stitch lengths will help you to go smoothly at those curvy areas. After you are done sewing the second inner wing, turn over and make a couple of knots at the back to end the stitch. Trim the thread. All the wings are sewed and it's time to complete the face. As you can see, we have 3 layers of eyes for this owl because it is the main characteristic feature of the owl. Take the 2 largest eyes and first decide how those are gonna be placed on the face of the owl. As now you know the position, start to sew one eye at a time. Thread your needle with a matching thread color and start to sew by coming from the back of the fabric. This time we are using the whip stitch to sew the eyes to the body. You could also use the back stitch as well, but I wanted the eyes to blend with the background. It's totally up to you. If you don't know how to do the whip stitch, we have a detailed tutorial on that too. You will find the link to that in the description. Basically, you come up at the edge of the eye only through the body piece and then go back down on top of the eye closer to the edge. Repeat the same to go all around the felt piece. After sewing one of the largest eyes, let's move to the other side. Again, it's a whip stitch and start to sew at one point and go all the way around till you reach the starting point. Now to blend in, I'm using a matching thread color and I keep my stitch length shorter and equally spaced as much as possible. You'll find more detailed tips and tricks on the whip stitch in our tutorial, so make sure you check that out. At this point, we have sewed one layer of eyes and let's move to the next layer. Second layer of eyes are a little bit smaller than the first layer and it goes on top of the first one. Start to sew the second layer of eyes one at a time. Just hold the eye to the first layer and I'm using the same thread color for all 3 layers of eyes. This is also the whip stitch coming from the back of the fabric and going all the way around the eye. Now let's move to the other side. Place the second eye on top of the first one and make sure it is centered as well. These pieces are too small to be pinned, so you have to sew it while holding it in place. As some of you know, I make my own patterns, and in this one my main focus was eyes. Owls have unique eyes, and to be honest, I thought they could move their eyes. But I was wrong, they couldn't. Instead, they just move their heads with their neck flexibility. Of course, I couldn't show that in here, so I just focused on the eyes. At this point, the second set of eyes are also sewed and time to do the final set of eyes. Place the eyes on top of the second set but not the center as we did in the second set. I'm placing these two a little closer to each other just to make these eyes look special. Now start to sew one eye at a time, and you can just do the regular whip stitch, or you can do something extra like the way I do. You can say it's a kind of a whip stitch, but what you do is you come up at the raw edge of the eye only through the body and go back down at the center of the eye. This will make a single stitch that stands out like this. Then again you come up at the raw edge of the eye and go back down at the center of the eye again. Then repeat the process around the eye. Try to keep equal spaces between the stitches around the edge of the eye. By making single separate stitches radiating at one point is the specialty here. Simple variations like these will make your handcraft stand out. So try changing things here and there to give your handcrafts a new look. Now let's move to the other eye. It's the same. Come up at the raw edge of the eye and go back down in the middle. You can also do the other way around. Start at the middle of the eye and then go towards the edge. You can make the spaces between the stitches as closer or as further apart like the way you prefer. The trick is to keep the equal spaces in between the stitches, that's all. After you have sewed both eyes, make a couple of knots at the back as we always do. Trim the thread. Final piece is the beak of the owl, and place it in between the eyes, and I like to keep a small part of it on top of the first layer of the eyes as well, just to incorporate everything nicely. Now hold the beak in place and start to sew it to the body using the back stitch. Simple whip stitch also would work. After you sewed all the way around, turn over to the back side and make a couple of knots. Trim the thread and now we are all ready to assemble the owl. Place the decorated body piece on top of the other piece and make sure they are aligned with each other. If not, trim those parts out. Now thread your needle with the matching thread color and make a knot at the end. Start to sew in between the two layers using the blanket stitch. That way you can hide away the knot between the two layers. Now if you don't know how to do the blanket stitch, you can follow our tutorial for that as well. I'll leave the link in the description. While doing the blanket stitch, you may run out of the thread or you will reach a corner. Now, if you have followed our tutorial, none of those would be a problem for you. So make sure to check out the tutorial first. When you reach 3/4 of the way, start to stuff using a little fiber fill at a time. I think a moderate amount of stuffing is fine with this one. It will also help to see decoration on top clearly. This is just my opinion and it's totally up to you. You can use something with a blunt end like a wooden rod to reach the corners, especially at those ear-like parts. The final measurements of this owl is gonna be about 4.5 by 3.5 inches. So it's quite a good size to use as an ornament by itself. Keep stuffing and stitching till you reach the end. Make a knot at the end to finish the sewing. Enter the needle in between the two layers and come through only one to hide the thread. Pull the needle towards you and then trim the thread. This is the final look of our felt owl and it's ready to stare at you all day, a friendly stalker. Now here is a one without the special eyes and I think it looks fine too, but I personally like the first one. I hope you'll try this fun project and let me know how it turned out. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already and I'll join you in the next one.